Spain 41, Odiozola Mujica. Pour la Suisse, le 60, Olivia Ottinger. Pour la France, le 50, Fanny Stumpf. For the Czech Republic, number 39, Nikola Bajdirova. Pour Luxembourg, le 53, Suzy Godard. Pour la France, le 51, Lucie Chanel. Voor België, pour la Belgique, le 25, le 25, Kim van der Stenen. Representing Spain pour l'Espagne, le 42, 42, Luisa Ibarola. For Germany, number 57, Mara Schwager. Voor Nederland, met startnummer 8, Yara Kastelein. Representing the United States of America, with number 16, Christine Verderos. For Great Britain, number 31, Ella Connolly. And last but not least, representing Germany, with number 58, Lena Bischofstein. Dat zijn de deelnemende dames aan deze Telenet UCI Cyclo-cross World Cup wedstrijd. Voor de dames de 5e van het seizoen hier in Namur. We zijn op 3 minuten voor de start. Il nous reste encore 3 minutes avant le départ, 3 minutes remaining before the start. In het algemene klassement op dit ogenblik in de Telenet UCI Cyclo-cross World Cup bij de dames gaat Sophie de Boer aan het commando. Ze leidt op het klassement met een puntenaantal van 258 punten. Op rang 2 staat Belgisch kampioene Sanne Kant met 227 punten. Katie Compton staat daar derde met 215 punten. De Française Manie vierde met 213 en Ellen van Looy staat vijfde met 169 punten. Dat is de huidige top 5 in het algemene klassement van de Telenet UCI Cyclo-cross World Cup bij de dames. We zijn op 2 minuten voor de start. Il reste encore 2 minutes avant le départ. 2 minutes to go before the start. Au classement général du Coupe du Monde, nous avons actuellement Sophie de Boer en tête avec 258 points. Deuxième place pour Sanne Kant avec 227 points. Troisième place pour Katie Compton, 215 points. Quatrième place pour la Française Caroline Manie avec 213 points. Et cinquième place pour Ellen van Looy avec 169 points actuellement. De wedstrijd bij de dames zal gereden worden over een tijdspanne tussen de 40 en 50 minuten in totaal. Daartussen gaan we uitkomen met de tijdstuur. 1 minuut voor de start. Encore 1 minute avant le départ. 1 minute to go before the start. The start of this race will be given with the red and green light system. Le départ sera donné avec le système, avec les feux rouges et les feux verts. De start straks gegeven werd het door de rensters alom bekende rood en groene lichtensysteem. De start hier binnen een 30 seconden.
And she's the only rider this year to have beaten Compton in races in America. But Compton's really going for it this year. So for me, it's one of those two.
Okay, you've gone straight out and said who's going to win. So see whether that comes true. Katarina Nash, Katie Compton, the riders are on the start line. The focus of Sanne Kant alongside her. There she is. Sophie de Boer, the leader of the World Cup there in the white and red jersey. And we're underway. We're not hanging around here as they go straight off the start on the cobbles. Absolute charge for the start and then onto the gravel. And Helen, all important now because it literally is a full-on power climb to the top.
It's really important to get to that. There's a little wooden bridge at the top and it's really important to get to that first because when people are around you, they can quite often make a mistake or do something that could hold you up. And see, we've just seen a crash just there from Maud Capitein. And she's a super strong rider this year, had some really good top 10 results. And, you know, that's difficult then because it becomes single track once you get over the top and you get into the off-road section again, and it's much harder to move up if you have a bad start.
Yeah, so if you...
Nikki had to just jump off.
Nikki just had to jump off there, but Nikki was talking to me before the start, Nikki Bramier, and she said that she only ran for the first time yesterday after the crash of a few weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah, it was a pretty bad crash in the European Championships. I can confirm that.
You were part of it.
And so, yeah, it's really good to see her back racing. And, I mean, Sana's had a bit of a bad start there for her, but I think she can move up quite quickly.
Eva Lechner is the leader, the Italian champion, just kicking out of that corner. On her wheel is Sophie de Boer. Eva Lechner, of course, last year in this race was third. The winner was Nikki Harris then, now Nikki Bramier. And in second place was Caroline Marnie. And when you look at that result for Marnie, that kind of signalled her intent for the World Championships, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely. She had a fantastic World Championships to take a silver medal. And this year, at the beginning of the year, she had a podium in Iowa. So, you know, she's been riding really, really well. And she races in America most of the season. She rides for Rally Clement. And so this season, the American season's kind of finished. And she's now going to be focusing on European racing until Worlds, I imagine.
So the riders then making their way down this little technical drop-off and getting themselves safely round there. Other riders that we should look out for, don't forget we've got the world champion Talita de Jong, fantastic rider who I think her strength as a road rider should come through towards the end of this race.
Yeah, she's really, she's one of the fittest riders out there right now. Her skills every year, they get better and better, and that obviously helps on a course like this. It's very mountain bikey. There's lots of quite technical descents. But she's definitely one of the strongest riders, and you can make so much time up on the really long uphill after the start.
Here's the recap then of the start. Let's just take a little look. A couple of riders were left at the side. In fact, one rider crashing immediately.
That's Ada Nuno Palacio and Karen Verheerstraten.
Just tangling there. And then another rider dropping.
Smaus Kapitein.
She's left on the deck. But it's now Talita de Jong, the world champion, there at the front, following her. A British rider right near the front.
I was going to say, it's really exciting to see Evie Richards up there. Obviously under 23 world champion, so incredibly talented, but this course should suit her as she is more of a mountain bike specialist before this year's world championships.
It would be a massive turn up for the books if she was up there in the top three in this World Cup, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be huge. Her first World Cup she did this season was in Zeven a couple of weeks back, and she was 14th, which was a good ride, but yeah, a top 5 in an elite World Cup is a really, really legit result.
As we watch the riders, don't forget you can get interactive with us today. You can join us on Twitter at Ant McCrossan or at CX Helen. Helen Wyman is alongside me in the commentary box for the women's race today to give us a little bit of insight as to what this sport is all about, and to add the insight from the women's peloton. They're going shoulder to shoulder around this corner. Always interested the way Eva Lechner rides. She seems to me like she's an urgent rider. She likes to lead a race from the front. Yeah,
I think she does, and in cyclocross races, because they're so short, it is actually an advantage to not have people around you, and you can take the lead from the front, and it's only 45 minutes. The racing, and anyone can do that. So for myself as a racer, I prefer to take the lead because I find it a lot easier for people not being in my way. But some riders, Sana's particularly good at following a wheel, and when you can do that, you actually save yourself more energy.
Yeah. Even on a cyclocross event?
Even on a cyclocross event, especially fast courses, you can actually... You would have seen in Seven that Sana sat on Katie when she was trying to recover, and then she attacked her in the sand. So you take what you're good at and you use it to your advantage.
There goes Evie Richards sprinting past Nikki Bramier. Behind Nikki Bramier is Christian Majeras, a teammate, of course, of her on the road, as the rest of the riders make their way up here. Sana Kant starting slowly here, but I spoke to her before the start. She said, despite yesterday where she and Sophie de Boer were locked in battle in the Skelde cross, she said she had really bad legs.
Right. Okay. Yeah, Sanakan is incredibly technical, a very tactically good bike rider. And yesterday was the Iserborg Trophy, and so she's leading that. So I think that was an important one to get time on. But she doesn't really like hills that much. So, and sometimes you can talk yourself out of a race if you don't believe you're necessarily as good as other people on the hills. So racing is very much mentally, it's important to be mentally strong for the races that you like.
But this race is so different to all the other crosses that we see in the World Cup, isn't it?
It's really different. It's definitely the toughest. It's the has the most descents. It can be the muddiest. Normally it's super muddy, and it's kind of a shame because the mud really makes a fantastic off-camber section, but this year it seems quite easy to ride. And it's just a really, really brutal race.
Well, we're looking here at Sanne Cant as she goes past, and just looking at the start line, Katie Compton hasn't taken the start of this race, so she's not going to figure in your top riders. So Katarina Nash is taking to the start and is now up there.
I think Talita de Jonge must have had a problem because she's quite a way back for where she was at the beginning of the race.
Yeah, it looks like it for sure.
Just on Fionn James there.
We're looking at the riders coming round then towards the end of this first lap. We'll get an idea of the lap time. So it's Eva Lechner in the green, white and red, looking around at Sophie de Boer. Alongside her is Katarina Nash, Ellen van Looy, Evie Richards making her way across there, Christian Majeras behind her, Nikki Bramier, and the rest of the riders going through. Sanne Cant working extremely hard on her terrain, trying to come back to the front of the race now. Lucinda Brand is also in the top 14 or 15 riders. The first lap then run off at around about 7 minutes and 53 seconds, which is a fast lap time, and in comparison to last year, the lap time of the opening lap last year was 8 minutes and 21 seconds. So we are 28 seconds faster on lap number 1 this year than we were last year.
Yeah, it just shows how different the course becomes when the conditions change. And it's so muddy last year, and to compare to how fast it is today, you would expect, I mean, it's 30 seconds difference. That's it.
Yeah, it's a massive
That's a pretty
difference.
huge difference.
It is, for sure. So Eva Lechner leading. Sophie de Boer, she's a rider who we've seen getting better and better all the time. What's she like as a rider?
Yeah, definitely. She's improved a lot this year. Last year we saw a glimpse of it. She won Hoogerheide at the end of season, the last World Cup, and she's really been consistently good this year. In about 4 or 5 years ago, she got a few breakthrough results, and she never quite matched those results the next few seasons, but this year she's got everything dialed in. She's slightly older now, so maybe that's what everything comes together. To me, cyclocross is an apprenticeship, and you have to work your way through it, and then you'll find that your skills match your ability, and so then you start getting the results that you know you're capable of.
Round that corner then, Katarina Nash is certainly up there. In terms of the season so far, Cross Vegas, the first round was won by Sophie de Boer, the second round was won by Katie Compton, then Talita de Jonge took Valkenburg, Sanne Cant took Zeven, but Katarina Nash was second in Cross Vegas, fourth in Iowa, then she missed the next couple of rounds, but everyone always says when Katarina Nash turns up to a cross, the race is a bit different.
Yeah, she's really good skillfully, and she's also very strong, so she's she's a stiff competitor for sure. And I think sometimes when there's not one outstandingly strong rider, the riders tend to match each other a little bit, and nobody really tries. They try to make breaks, but if everybody's pretty evenly matched, you have to just find a way to break the group. And whereas when you have a super strong rider like Nash or Lechner or Mariana or someone like that, or Sana this year, you can make a big gap, and you know you can, so you do that early on.
Riders making their way along past the Friets, the Burger vans and everything else that's alongside here, and past the hospitality, because it crisscrosses through all those areas. On the right-hand side, you've got the area where all the camper vans are. But Sophie de Boer leads in that white and red coloured jersey now, so not just pure white for the World Cup leader. Lechner and Nash. Nash now is starting to accelerate a little bit. Sophie de Boer has a very quick bike change there to try and get back out of the pits and straight onto the wheel of Ellen van Looy. Lost a little bit of time there as Katarina Nash now accelerates really hard down that descent.
Yeah, that descent in previous years you'd see is really tricky, and this year it's super fast and the riders don't even have to take a foot out. You know, it's really. I think Sophie must have had a bike problem because nobody else is changing really. So
yeah,
it probably wasn't to do with mud. It might have been to do with the mechanical of some description.
So how do you decide when what your strategy is for changing bikes and what you decide to do?
It depends on the weather. It depends on the pit. It depends on quite often one pit, because you go either side of the pit, one side is faster than the other. If your bike clogs up a lot more than someone else, you might change more than them, but you wouldn't necessarily. The conditions at the minute, after 2 or 3 laps, the bikes are looking really clean, so you wouldn't really change yet. You might towards the end, and also if you have a gap, it's a lot easier to take a pit change.
Yeah. Yeah, but looking at it, it's not as muddy as we perhaps thought it might have got, and not clogging up at all.
No, not at all. And even there, the lines they're taking, they're not looking slick. They're really in control.
Now, this section we see every year in Namur, and it's so tricky. How do you ride this?
It's really tricky. You can, they make it look as hard as it is.
Oops, and Evie's had a problem.
It's actually really off camber, and it doesn't look it there, but it really is. And there's a lot of ruts from a lot of years of riding the same course, and so the ruts can get super deep, and then there's quite often tree roots stuck in them. You don't really see them, and it's when you hit a tree root with a wheel that either your front wheel or your back wheel that it starts to slide, and that's when you see them having problems and taking a foot out.
If you're just joining us then, this is the race situation. Eva Lechner leads, Katarina Nash is in second place. Sophie de Boer, following her is Ellen van Looy, behind her is Niki Bramier. The other Italian rider just behind is Alicia Zuffi. She's had a good season, hasn't she, with third in Zeven?
Yeah, she's had a really good season, and she stepped up this year on the road, and I think that's actually increased her fitness significantly. So now she's competing really at a high level with the other races. Oh, Sana's having a problem there. That's a really slick corner, that corner. In training yesterday, they were riding up the hill, but the corner got too slick that actually you didn't get enough momentum to be able to ride it. So.
Right, okay. She must have, I don't know, decided to go straight on there.
It's those stones with the mud over them, they really get slick. It's quite technical.
And is there a distinction and choice between using cantilever brakes and disc brakes, or are most people just choosing disc brakes now?
I personally prefer the disc brake now. I think it's the braking is so nice. It feels so soft. It feels so you feel like you've got control over how much you brake, whereas in the past with Canty it was kind of on or off, or if your wheels got muddy it was just off. basically. The only disadvantage is the weight, but I mean my bike weighs 6.9 kilos and the weight limit is 6.8, so it's not, I don't see it as a disadvantage anymore.
I guess it's just that extra tiny bit of weight every time you have to shoulder the bike, but what trades off in knowing you're going to brake doesn't matter.
Yeah, the shouldering the bike is the thing really, but like you see today, they're not twice on this lap, they're shouldering their bike, so it's not actually that much of a problem. Oh no, there's a bit of an issue with Laura Verdunschkott's crashed and.
Yep, looks like she's gone straight over the front. Plenty of mud being picked up there. Yeah,
she's a really good under-23 rider. She's only 19, I think, so she's definitely one to watch in the under-23 World Championships.
Katarina Nash leads. Behind her, Eva Lechner going with her, making every single move that Katarina Nash actually does as they make their way back round here to complete the next lap. We'll find out the lap time. Sophie de Boer is just behind Eva Lechner, having a little glance over her shoulder to see where she is as they cross the line. This time, Katarina Nash with a lap time of 7 minutes and 43 seconds, even quicker by 10 seconds on the second lap of this race.
Yeah, they're both teammates as well, both riding for Luna, and they'll know how each other rides, so they won't necessarily work together, but I'd imagine that they'd be happy riding behind each other for sure.
Yeah, you forget that, don't you? Because one's in the Italian champions kit and one's in the blue of Luna. But Eva Lechner moved there after riding for Colnago, I think it was, for most of her time.
Yeah, a really long time. And Eva this year started the season quite strong, and then she took a break. And this is her first World Cup she's done, I think, this year. So she's clearly come in super strong and ready and prepared to do this.
Yeah, she certainly has. She's a fierce competitor when she gets going. And, of course, last year finishing third and knowing that Caroline Marnie is not here, Nikki Bramier is maybe not back on her top form yet, which is no surprise.
Yeah.
It's a big, big chance here for Eva Lechner to try and win this World Cup, which we know absolutely suits her perfectly. But Katarina Nash is going to fight her all the way as she goes around that little turn there, puts on the power, just trying to hurt the legs, I guess, of Eva Lechner and try and get rid of her if she can.
Yeah, I think she would probably be happy for her to be there for a bit, but everybody wants to win solo, so
is that the aim, is it?
Yeah, well, you need to get a good celebration in, so
you want plenty of time.
Yeah, it's really good to see this year Ellen van Looy has really stepped up her skills a lot, and she's been riding a lot with Sven van Tornout, the male elite racer who retired this year, and on pre-rides on courses, and I think that's really helped her step it up and on races like this, which are really quite technical.
Let's just run through the current situation then. Eva Lechner led across the line that time. Katarina Nash was with her. Then Sophie de Boer, Ellen van Looy, Alici Ardzufi, Nikki Bramier, Christine Majerus, Evie Richards, Lucinda Brand and Pavla Havlikova are the top 10 riders so far in this race. Really interesting how many road riders in the World Tour are in the front of this field right now, with Lucinda Brand, Christian Majerus, Nikki Bramier. Oops.
Seems like Talita's had another crash of some...
She looks quite upset, actually.
She looks like she's hurt herself. That's a road section. I'm not sure where that is.
Yeah. Well, she came across the line. In fact, I was looking to see where she was, but she didn't look to me like she was even in the top places at all. Like she was way down.
Yeah, she definitely had a crash early on, because she had some, you can always tell by the mud on the shoulders or mud on the body parts that you shouldn't have mud on.
Yeah.
And she obviously had a crash early on, but that quite often, if you're using you're using mud tyres probably here because a lot of the corners are a little bit greasy and you need a bit of traction, but sometimes when you're then transitioning from road onto gravel or vice versa, quite often the tyres have a bit of mud on them and you actually can slide off and hurt yourself on the road here.
Well, she certainly looked like she had hurt herself. Let's hope Talita de Jong, the world champion, is okay. We were looking forward to seeing her tussling at the front here with Lechner and Nash, who are starting to open up their advantage now. The gap back to Sophie de Boer across the last checkpoint was 6 seconds, and de Boer is trying to come back. Behind them, it's quite a gap now to Ellen van Looy at 25 seconds, Ardzufi at 26, Majerus, Bramier and Richards, who are all 31, 33 and 41 respectively. So the work being done by these two riders, in particular now Katarina Nash, is really starting to hurt the legs of the rest of this this very strong field. But Sophie de Boer's not giving up, is she? She is a rider who can keep going and just see whether she can get back to these two riders before the finish. In
terms of the World Cup as well, Sophie's leading, and so for her, these two riders aren't going to affect the overall result. And it's actually a big prize now. It's 20,000 euros to win the World Cup, which is hugely significant in women's racing. And so for Sophie, she would, if she can't stay with the front two, she'll be trying to maintain as close a gap as possible so that she stays away from the riders behind and gains the most number of points.
How much, in terms of prize money, how much has that changed in the course of your career?
Over the last 3 or 4 years, I work on the UCI Cross Commission, and we've been making huge advances in C1 and C2 prize money, and so as of next season they'll be equal, which is massive steps. In terms of World Championships and European and National Championships, they're pretty much equal as well, but in terms of the World Cup, that's where the massive difference is, and I'm working really hard on trying to fix that as well. And in terms of overall, it's actually really good for the women now, which is something which is really important, because a lot of the women unfortunately don't get paid when they should. They're good enough to. It's super exciting racing. They have huge spectatorship on the television, and so it's getting there, but it's a slow process.
But it's steps, and you're making moves, because you're part of the commission that's changing this.
Yeah, it is small steps. I mean, the C1 and C2 is big steps, but the World Cup is the massive thing that needs to change. And then once that's changed, it will be equal. But changing that is the hardest thing, because the money difference is €30,000 in prize fund per event. So where do you find that kind of money? It's
that's totally different.
Yeah.
But to win €20,000 at the end of a season is great news compared to what it was.
Yeah, and even compared to women's road racing,
Yeah.
is significant. It's really significant. So I think Eva Lechner may have had a problem there because Sophie came past her.
Yeah, there's
Sophie's now up into second.
a few problems going on for a number of riders. Just out of shot, you can see Katarina Nash going away, Sophie de Boer chasing. Eva Lechner is trying to come back here after a problem, but she's not
She's
covered
got a
in
flat
mud.
front tyre.
Front puncture.
There's a lot of rocky stones, particularly on the descent after the main climb, after the start-finish. And a lot of punches were in the junior races as well.
So we've got Eva Lechner's got to get herself to the pits somehow. She was riding really strongly, thanks to Marcus, Katie Compton's husband, for just confirming Katie didn't start, but that Evie Richards, of course, is on Katie's bike doing the business.
Yes, she is. Not Katie's actual bike,
her
because
old
that
bike
probably wouldn't fit.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Here we go then with Katarina Nash leading across the line this time. Just having a look to see how many laps they have decided they're going to do, and it looks like we're going to have 3 laps to go as Katarina Nash goes through in an even faster lap time, 7 minutes and 38 seconds. The fastest lap last year was 8 minutes and 20, so we are significantly faster this season than we were last year, but the conditions slightly different. Sophie de Boer now, Helen, 10 seconds down with 3 laps to go.
Yeah, I think that Katarina will just set into a rhythm and probably put out similar lap times. She's always very consistent, and I think she'll just keep putting out 7-minute 40-ish lap times for the next 3 laps. So it's up to Sophie really to try and close that gap. And you see now that Eva is down into 6th place, so that was a huge problem for her with one puncher. And the same can happen at the front of the race. If Katarina has a problem, then Sophie's winning the race. And you try never to give up in cross racing, because so much does happen, and people lose a chain, people have punches, people have crashes, and if you're within 20 seconds of that rider, you can actually come back and take a win.
Well, she's still in with a chance here of taking the victory. There's Lucinda Brand crossing the line with Sanna Kant just behind her. Not Sanna's day today so far.
No, unfortunately not. And for Sophie, this is a really good thing, because Sanna is second in the World Cup rankings, and so she's actually gaining. She already has a big points difference, but the points at the very front of the race are a lot higher than what you get after a 4th or 5th. So yeah, Sanna could be losing quite a lot of points today, unfortunately.
Yeah, because we started off today, Sophie de Boer was the leader of the World Cup, 258 points. Sanna Kant, 227. Katie Compton, 215. So Sophie de Boer definitely, as things stand right now, is going to be the confirmed leader of this World Cup. Look at the way Katarina Nash just slides that bike through the corners.
She really looks like a mountain biker.
She does, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's really skillful. She's really good and strong and a nice person as well, which is always great when you are off the bike.
Yeah, it's all style, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Just letting the bike slide around as she made her way down that that little turn there. Ellen van Looy still always consistent in there, riding strongly. And we've got 3 laps of racing to go here at the Citadel, built in 1640. Some real history here in Namur. It's right up on the top of the hillside. And we are, of course, in the capital of Wallonia here, as far as this race is concerned. The crowd enjoying watching these women. I did notice, you know, when you were talking about the way women's racing's changed. When I first came to cyclocross, the local Belgian broadcaster would never interview any of the top women on the start line. And I used to wonder why. And it's changed totally. They now interview all the stars.
Yeah, it's really, really good that last year they started showing that Galazzo, that organise a lot of the Iserbook trophy races and some other races as well. This one, they started showing the women's racing live on television, and that made such a huge difference. And suddenly you go from being inconspicuous to people recognising you when you go shopping in the supermarket in Belgium, you know. And that's really good for the profile of women's racing. And this year, every race I've watched a lot. Unfortunately, I haven't been in them.
Yeah.
So I've watched a lot on television, and I'm gripped watching the racing. And, you know, I know these riders personally, so maybe I'm more invested in it, but it's still, you know, really, really exciting racing. And this course is so hard that it's going to have big time gaps. That's what this course is about. But on a lot faster courses, you would have seen that there was big groups of racing together. So
yeah, for sure. Katarina Nash, flat out downhill. She's still taking some risks. She's not holding back too much.
I'm not sure if she's got a problem there.
Yeah, let's just take a little look. Oh, she can't get her foot in the pedal. Either mud clogged or she's got a bigger problem than that. And Sophie de Boer has had no major problems so far. She had to have a bike change. We thought she might have had an issue, but she's still riding extremely well. So it wasn't her body giving out, it was a mechanical. Katarina Nash has got big problems coming along here.
Yeah, it just shows how tricky that course is. And the more riders that ride the off-camber, the more people that ride it, the harder the lines get to ride, the slicker they get. And it just shows that during the race. And also as you get tired, it's easy to have skills when you're fresh, and as you get tired, you start to make mistakes because you just can't process the information quick enough, really.
Whoops.
So I think it's fair to say she's trying.
Yeah, she's definitely trying. I'm wondering, do you think that was just mud in the shoe plate, or?
I'm not sure if her tyre pressures might have gone down a little because she didn't take her foot out on the. We call it death drop, but the little drop before, where she didn't do that in previous laps and she did then, but
yeah,
we'll see if she changes bikes.
I was talking to Sanna Kant before the start about tyre pressures, and she said that she just wasn't sure what to use. Well, Katarina Nash here is getting caught by Sophie de Boer, and exactly what Helen said a while ago, you just don't give up, you just keep going, and suddenly Sophie de Boer is back in the game. She is coming up to the wheel of Katarina Nash, and we think Nash has had a problem. Sophie de Boer is going to pounce on this and is going to try and put her authority into this World Cup. She's going to have massive morale knowing that she's now caught Katarina Nash, who's kicking her pedals yet again.
Yeah, it might just be that the mud started to compact on the tyres now and in the pedals and everything, and maybe because Sophie's already done a bike change and Katarina hasn't, maybe that's what.
Oops, a problem there, and I don't know what happened, whether she just put the bike down, tried to clean the pedals or something, but she's got big problems here. Katarina Nash and Sophie de Boer accelerating away now from Katarina Nash, who has been at the front of this race with Eva Lechner since the start. Interesting point in this race now.
Yeah, really exciting. They're coming up to 2 laps to go. So yeah, really exciting race, and it just shows that anything can happen on a course like this.
Exactly. Just to run through some other points for you, some other names, because we're concentrating on Sophie de Boer and Katarina Nash. Ella Noble, Caitlin Antonow and Emma White of the United States of America locked together 15th, 16th, 17th. Fionn James is in 22nd place for Great Britain. Lucy Chanel, 23rd for France. Hannah Payton, 35th for Great Britain. Elle Anderson, 36th for the United States of America. Just picking out some of the riders for you. Lucinda Brand of the Netherlands is in 11th place right now. And just looking at riders who have dropped out, Talita de Jong, Mara Schwager are two riders who have dropped out of this race so far.
Katarina hasn't changed bikes there, so I'm not entirely sure.
She's still kicking those pedals.
Yeah, but she didn't change bikes, so maybe she just made a few mistakes and Sophie came back to her because Sophie just kept on trying.
Doing it again. Same with the right foot. Yet again, she can't get her feet into the pedals, and it's a bit strange that you wouldn't have a bike change.
And Lechner's coming right back at them now.
2 laps of racing to go. The race situation, Sophie de Boer and Katarina Nash are the leaders of this race. But Katarina Nash is having a problem, and we're not entirely sure, but it's a pedal problem by the looks of things, or shoe plates. The race situation as far as the rest of the riders are concerned, Sophie de Boer leads, Katarina Nash followed by Eva Lechner, who's only 12 seconds down now that time across the line. The 2 Italian riders together, Alicia Zufo in 4th place, Christine Majeras in 5th, Ellen Van Looy in 6th, Nikki Bramier in 7th place. You know, Helen, this race isn't over, is it?
No, not at all. Not at all. This is such a hard race that you'll find that the older riders particularly have more endurance, and so they'll be a lot stronger. You've seen Evie was right up there at the beginning, but she's young. She's only 19. But yeah, it changes so much. Just one small slip and someone can come back, or a problem, or a puncture, or anything like that. And it's good that Sophie's back on Katarina now, because I think that will give her renewed motivation, and will, hopefully comes down to a sprint. That's exciting.
It could come down to a sprint. That'll be very exciting between these 2 riders. Sophie de Boer, the World Cup leader in the white and red jersey, going a slightly different line to Katarina Nash to overtake and try and accelerate just a little bit more.
That's really interesting to see the 2 different lines there, because Sophie is very much a cyclocross racer first, and she does road racing too, and Katarina is very much a mountain biker and she does cyclocross racing. And so you'll see that the 2 different lines are probably dependent on where they come from, in what sport they come from. So mountain bikers tend to take more aggressive lines, whereas cross riders tend to take more sweeping lines and carry speed in a different way.
Okay, well, let's keep an eye on the lines of these riders. The way you can see the way that they ride is very different. Even the way they ride the bike is totally different.
Yeah.
It's much more aggressive mountain biking, Katarina Nash's style.
And you see there, Majoris is coming back up to Eva Lechner now.
Thanks very much for your messages on Twitter, at @Macross and @CX Helen. Helen Wyman is alongside me. Andy Jerry would like to clone you so we can have you commentating and racing at the same time.
Yeah.
And all the best for your recovery.
Thank you. That would be quite hard work.
It
Like
would be,
195 average heart rate. It would be difficult to talk even for me.
Yeah, I don't think we'd want to try you doing that on this very hilly course. You know, Eva Lechner hasn't given up on coming back to the front of this race. And bearing in mind, I'm just looking for the next split point. We've got 2 split points on this circuit, and it gives us an indication of how the riders are doing. It was 12 seconds on the finish line, but Eva Lechner's making a little bit of a move now, but she's 14 seconds down. But she clearly believes she can get back to the front.
Yeah, have we seen already, you know, the riders, Nash had a 15, 20-second lead, and then Sophie came back to her. And Lechner was away with Nash, and then she had a puncture and she went right back to 7th or 8th place, I think. So you can see how one small problem can make such a huge difference. You also see here how Katerina, coming into the uphill, she obviously believes she's better on the descent, and so she's going to try and get in there first. But Sophie clearly knows that she might be better on the descent, and so she's going to get in there first. And that's really good to see. When you have more than one racer racing at the front, you get to see all these different things.
Yeah, the tactics of these two are very interesting indeed, as you try to pick out how they're going to get their advantage. If you didn't see the men's cyclocross finish yesterday, have a look at that with Mathieu van der Poel and Wout van Aert. That was incredible, where they were both trying to go to the final corner, and neither of them would give an inch at all. And I think we might well see the similar thing here if we see the two of these get to the finish line together.
Yeah, Wout really didn't want to give in on that. No. On that race. That was really exciting.
It was. Well, let's see what happens with these two. Katerina Nash is in the blue, lives in the United States of America, rides for the Czech Republic, rides for the Luna team. Her teammate is Eva Lechner, who is there in the green, white and red, making her way through these tram lines. Alicia Arzuffi trying to go with her. The two Italians riding well. There is Niki Bramier, who is back in action after her crash. And then further on down, just picking out there, number 13 is Amanda Miller, who's also had a good season.
Amanda's had a fantastic season. She had 2 top 10 places in the World Cups in America earlier, and she was also, I think, 6th or 7th in Valkenburg.
Yep.
And she's really come on strong this year. She's always had good results, 10th, around 10th, but she's never really consistently backed them up, and this year she has.
Yeah, she has 5th in Valkenburg.
Oh,
Great performance by Amanda Miller. And as far as the American riders are concerned, she's running 9th place right now. So if you're fans from the United States of America of Amanda Miller and the rest of her teammates, she is doing well here in the top 10 overall in this World Cup cyclocross.
And Amanda, again, was a good road rider. She was on some really big professional teams in the past, and she's had some really impressive results in European road racing, so she should only get stronger during the race, really, as well.
Do you really notice that, then, that as a cyclocross rider, if you've transitioned to the road or back from the road, that you are significantly stronger?
You see at the beginning of the season that a lot of the riders that have done a lot of road racing are much higher in the results than cyclocross-specific riders, because the kind of training that you get from stage racing is something you can't. It's really hard to replicate, basically. And so you'll find a lot of people will come into the season hot, particularly the Americans, because their season is a lot shorter than ours. It finishes around December, but it starts really early, and so it's really important for them to be really good early on. And you'll find that the cross riders around Christmas time tend to get stronger because it's much more technical and you don't rely on your endurance so much. And then come Worlds, yeah, the fittest rider wins, basically, because the cross riders are all a bit tired and haven't been able to train as hard as they could. And you see that a lot with Talita de Jonge coming this year and win Worlds, and Marianne Vos in the past. So.
And Marianne was back yesterday.
Yeah. Really exciting to see.
Yeah, she looked very good. Finished 4th yesterday in the women's cross. As we look here at the two leaders, catching a rider now. There's a rule, an 80% rule but not on the last lap, I think I'm right in saying.
Normally, but the rider should get pulled because she hasn't reached the last lap yet. But the rule is really to stop riders that aren't in the race affecting the result.
Coming up now then, with 40 minutes of racing covered just about, right on cue. We have 1 lap of racing to go. Sophie de Boer, the leader in the World Cup leaders jersey, with Katerina Nash behind her. But ominously placed in 3rd place now is Eva Lechner, who's trying to come back. And I wouldn't be surprised on the road here if Christine Majeras also shuts the gap a little bit. It's looking like a tantalising finish to this World Cup here in Namur. And for a while it looked like Nash would take it. But de Boer has come back and Lechner is only 9 seconds down now.
for Sophie, this is actually quite a difficult position for her to be in because Nash is on her wheel, so Nash is not going to work when Lechner's coming close. But equally, Sophie doesn't want to do too much because she wants to be able to be there to sprint at the finish. So it's quite a tricky position for her to be in.
Can you actually, as teammates, work together in cyclocross? Is it possible?
If you're of similar level, it's probably possible to work together. If it's a fast race and it's about attacking, then yeah, it probably is. A race like this, not so much, but you can use the fact that you don't have to go to the front to drive the race forward. You can see them just fighting, yeah, the whole time. Just they want to get into the bits first because then you have the best advantage. And
shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to shoulder, then round that corner. But Katarina Nash comes out of that corner and much better than Sophie de Boer. Made a little bit of a mistake there, Sophie.
And you see there that Nash has adapted already because Sophie was faster on the outside line last lap. Nash has adapted and used the same line. And she comes out of it with a 100-meter gap. So maybe not 100 meters, but, you know, and so that's a really smart bike racer, is one that can watch what other people around them are doing, even though they're trying as hard as they can. And you're in a whole different world of pain. But if you can observe other people and you can change and adapt how you're doing it to be faster, then yeah, that's a smart bike racer.
She's really put Sophie de Boer under pressure now. She's put her in trouble, all by that little move. There was that little bit of game playing with shoulder to shoulder, and then she took the line, as Helen said, that Sophie had previously taken, and now she's just ripping away from her. And she's using all her technical ability, and de Boer suddenly is on the ropes as far as this race is concerned. Katarina Nash is accelerating away and has got some good daylight here between her and the World Cup leader. Look at the speed of her now.
Yeah, it's incredible to be able to put that. She's consistently still putting similar lap times out, and to do that at the end of the race is really impressive.
Yeah, very, very impressive indeed. She's put in the fastest lap, a 7:38, which is 19.88 kilometers an hour around this course. Her last lap was an 8:01, which was faster than the lap before of 8:05. Here she goes into the bits. Look at Sophie de Boer sprinting flat out here, really coming up now to get to Nash. And that, I don't know, is that a mistake by Katarina Nash now?
I don't think it is. I think that was, she tried to get a gap. She saw she could get a gap, so she knew she could change bikes and still come back quite easily. And I think for Sophie, again, Sophie never gives up. It's really impressive to see that she keeps trying. She keeps motivated. She knows that any small incident and she could win this race, and that's really good to see.
Yeah, now they are shoulder to shoulder. Nash goes back to the front. She is trying to just exert her influence over Sophie de Boer. She's refusing to let de Boer use her skills and experience. She wants to just put her total authority on this race. And wherever possible, she is going away from her. De Boer has done so well to get back on and down that descent. Nash is so fast. She just opens up another 20 meters.
I think that's what I mean. Like, she knew she could change bikes because she's already gapped her once. She could gap her again, and that's confidence.
It is. Well, she won this race in 2014. She beat Marianne Vos and Katie Compton that day. She was second in 2012 to Katie Compton, so she knows this course very, very well indeed. She's riding this slippery, tricky section well, but I've noticed Sophie de Boer has ridden this section probably better than anyone for this entire race.
Yeah, she's very consistent. Her skills are very consistent. She keeps the same pace, the same lines, and that's really what you should try to be doing as a cross racer, unless somebody else's line is actually faster. On that, Katarina's had some really fast goes on the off-camber, but that one, you can tell she's trying hard. And so, again, your skills go down slightly as you try harder because you're not always thinking straight, because less oxygen to your brain. I don't know.
Probably less oxygen to your brain, without a doubt. Eva Lechner is getting close. Look, gritted teeth now as she powers away up the climb. Behind her is her Italian teammate Oh, another problem. Sophie de Boer makes another mistake, and Eva Lechner is coming back looking for at least second place, if not first. The crowd here going absolutely mad with Katarina Nash leading. Behind her, de Boer, and behind there, Eva Lechner.
I think Sophie's a pretty strong runner at the minute as well, which might work to her advantage on the next section.
Look at Lechner coming back at both of them. Is she going to surprise them? Katarina Nash now going to get onto the bike first. De Boer just struggling over that little section there. Nash is going to get onto the descent. Eva Lechner jumps onto the bike quickly. Two Italian riders in the top 5 or top 4 in a race of a World Cup is fantastic.
Yeah, it's something we haven't seen in a very long time. You see the races outside of the men's race are actually really quite international. The junior race, the under-23 races, and the women's World Cup races. And there's Katarina's just going over a lapped rider there.
Katarina Nash now is attacking again.
I think Sophie has given everything she can now.
She certainly has.
And I think, oh, she's got a flat back tyre. She's got a puncture in the rear. Oh, that's such a shame.
That is a problem now. Can she even get to the finish in the top 3? Eva Lechner catches Sophie de Boer. So it's going to be the two Luna riders who are now first and second. And Sophie de Boer now needs to ride what is a significantly long way with a flat back tyre.
Yeah, it's a really rocky section as well and quite hard packed. You'd be at a fair disadvantage, and it just shows how luck can go either way. Yeah,
absolutely. Katarina Nash now is riding solo to a victory here in Namur in the 5th round of this World Cup. What a fantastic race she has had. A few technical problems along the way, but she's going to turn the corner. This is going to be a win for Katarina Nash. She's won this race previously in 2014. Katarina Nash takes the win here in Namur. What a victory for Katarina Nash. 47 minutes and 14 seconds. Extremely happy with that performance. And behind her is going to be her Luna teammate, Eva Lechner. She's in second place.
And Sophie's already gone through the pit and changed bikes, so hopefully for her she can hold on to third. Yeah, she'll hold on to third.
There she is, third place for Sophie de Boer. A puncture on the last lap when she was really giving Katarina Nash all sorts of trouble. Behind her is all smiles for the Italian rider, Azufi, and Christine Majeras. A great performance in 5th place for the Luxembourger. Behind her, Ellen van Looy in 6th. That's pretty consistent by Ellen.
That's really consistent result. And Amanda Miller coming in there in 7th, just behind her, which is another great result. A
great result for Amanda Miller here in Namur. She's going to cross the line now, clicking her way through the gears. 7th place for the American, 8th place for Nikki Bramier of Great Britain.
Nikki will be really happy with that after the crash at the European Champs and the first World Cup back. She'll be really happy with that.
Lucinda Brand finishes in 9th place. Maud Kapteins is in 10th place. Behind them is the under-23 world champion Evie Richards. Well, she tried to go with the move. She's 11th. She's pretty happy. I think she's the first under-23 rider.
Yeah, she would be. So looks like she's had a crash as well. There's a lot of mud sticking out of her handlebar.
And behind them now
Caitlin
is
Antonou.
Caitlin Antonou, who's going to be 12th place in this race. And Sana Kant, definitely not her day.
No.
Last year at this time, she was nursing a rib injury and wasn't riding well. This year, just not good legs.
I think it's just this course isn't her favourite course. I think she's so good at fast courses, at races that don't have so many hills. I mean, in Spa this year she was really good. She was second. She beat Christine Majeras in a sprint at the end. So it's not that she can't do hills, but sometimes I don't think sometimes she feels she can, and so she doesn't get the result that maybe you'd expect of her. But she won yesterday, and she was in a sprint with Sophie de Boer, and Sophie was there until she punched at the finish. So she's super fit, and and flying, and I'm sure she'll be winning again next weekend.
And when we get to the World Championship, she will definitely be up there somewhere. Katarina Nash, though, another victory here in Namur. She's such a competitor, isn't she? Yeah,
she, again, really nice. A great competitor, and she doesn't ever pull any dirty tricks or anything like that on a race, and so it's actually really good racing with her. That's Ellen Noble finishing there, who's the under-23, leading under-23 World Cup leader.
Oh, yes. I think won't be long till we hear the interview from Katarina Nash. Evie Richards over on the right-hand side. She is searching for points in the under-23 classification, of course. And all the riders coming in then to gain their points. And
there's Fionn James, another young rider, 19-year-old from Britain.
Just finishing now. Just seeing where she finished, 21st today.
So another good result for Fionn.
Yeah, very, very good indeed. And just behind, another American rider.
Is that Emma White, maybe?
Could be Emma White, just about to finish. Double silver medalist in the World Road Race Championships.
Yeah, from a very fast family. Her brother Curtis White races in the under-23.
Isn't there 5 children in that family?
I've only met 2 of them, 3 of them. There's a really young one as well, but
yeah,
they are a good, strong family. Curtis wins a lot of races in America, and Emma's been battling with me this year in America.
So,
yeah, she's good.
Yeah, she's very good indeed.
It's Ada Nuno Palacio coming in there. She's Spanish rider, and she's so strong at the minute. And we were down last weekend in Spain at some races, and she just dominated. She was, really, really good. And she's moved up to 19th in the world ranking from outside the top 50 this season. So,
well, let's now hear from the winner of today's race, Katarina Nash.
Awesome victory. You rule in Namur. That was really some performance.
Thank you. Yeah, I was looking forward to coming back to Namur. It was one of the reasons why I wanted to come back and race in Europe. And today was pretty epic. Sophie and Eva were really strong, and it was just a good, exciting race.
You had a tricky moment with your pedals there.
Yeah, I kind of couldn't get in my pedals, and then I actually got a flat on the last lap. So I came in for a clean bike, and I think that really helped me on the last lap because, I had clean bike, clean pedals, and things worked out. So.
Just how important is this victory if you look on it in your whole career?
Oh, it's this place is special, and I mean I've raced for a really long time, and I don't have a ton of World Cup victories, so every one of them is super special, and I'm really excited.
Many congratulations. Thanks very much, Katarina Nash.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It just shows there, Helen, just how much victory in a World Cup does mean to a rider, because as she said, she's so respected, and always we know she's going to be near the front, but you don't win a lot of these races.
No, you definitely don't. And there's not that many of them to start with. There's only, for women, we've only had a full World Cup season for the last 7 or 8 years. So, and Katarina has actually been around a really long time. So for her, it's every win is exciting, and every win you're really happy with. But the World Cup, I think because it's more international, I think because you see more people see it, that it means something. There was a Miramella coming in there just behind Hannah Payton in, I don't know what place it came in.
Here's the results then in Namur. Katarina Nash wins in 47 minutes 14 seconds. In second place, Eva Lechner. The World Cup leader, Sophie de Boer, in third place. Some great performances there of the riders in the top 10. And a few notable exceptions to that top 10 for all sorts of reasons. Here's our top 20. The first under-23 rider, Evie Richards of Great Britain, 1 minute 30 down. Sanne Kant down in 13th place, so her challenge in this World Cup is hurt by today's performance. Ellen Noble of the United States of America there in 16th place, and a former podium finisher, Lucy Chanel, down there in 20th place as well. Still riders finishing.
I think Lucy Chanel hasn't really been focusing on cross since her second child. And so she came back and she was really good immediately, and then she kind of has had different focuses, and I'd imagine it's really tough if you have a family and you're the mum and you have to look after your kids, and your husband's racing as well. And he's doing really, really well this year. He won a sprint against Wout van Aert in America. So, you know, it must be tough.
Let's take a look here at the highlights of today's race. Well, it was an almighty charge off the start line, and it was Sophie de Boer who was trying to exert her influence over the rest of the race on this very tough uphill section. There were a few tussles and a few riders crashing. Near the front was the world champion, Talita de Jong. But Eva Lechner was the rider who went out in the lead very early. Sophie de Boer always near the front, as was Katarina Nash. And at this point in the race, we had de Boer and Nash and Lechner, and also a young British rider in Evie Richards near the front. Sophie de Boer had a bike change. We tried to work out why, maybe just either a puncture, or she decided just to have a nice clean bike for the middle part of the race. Then it was Nash and Lechner who went away. And Lechner and de Boer were locked together for a long time as Nash went clear, and Lechner also had a puncture out on the course, as Helen described, the rocks underneath the surface causing the riders a few problems. Then we had the battle between Katarina Nash and Sophie de Boer. De Boer using her running skills and Nash using her descending skills. It was a great battle between the two riders. Lechner never gave up. She continued to try to close the gap after having a puncture. And Katarina Nash used every single little bit of tactical nous that she had to put Sophie de Boer into difficulty. Nash had problems with her pedals. She took a bike with a lap to go. De Boer came back at her. But technical problems for sure were the order of the day. De Boer had a puncture as she ran in towards the finishing line. Behind them, Eva Lechner was closing up. She went from 14 seconds down to 12 seconds down to 9 seconds down. And then when this happened, where De Boer had a puncture, Lechner came back. Katarina Nash took the victory. Her second time winning here in Namur. She describes it as a special place. Lechner was second on the podium, and de Boer took third to open up her advantage now in the World Cup. Well, the crowd are waiting now for the podium. And then, of course, we have the men's race coming up to end the afternoon. Well, the race in Helen moved to Zolder next, which is a totally different circuit.
A really different circuit again, and it really suits road riders, Zolder. There's a lot of hard-packed ground. Even when it snows, it's a lot of hard-packed ground, and so I think you'll see Talita do really well there. Mariana's is her first World Cup, and she will have to start at the back. Near the back. She won't have very many UCI points, so but she doesn't really, she has such an incredibly fast start that it doesn't really affect her that much. But it'll be really interesting to see, and hopefully Katie Compton's back there and Nash stays, and it'll be really, really exciting racing.
If they all come back for that, Talita de Jong's camper van just driving away.
Just driving away there. I hope she's not hurt, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It looked like where she crashed was actually the corner just before the finish line, and there's like a grate on the ground, and it gets really muddy because you're transitioning off of the pit lane into that, and so quite often it can get slick on those corners, and maybe she just had a problem there.
Making our way then to the podium. Katarina's chosen the lime green shades for this podium presentation, and Eva always on the phone.
Just phoning the family.
So just to run through for you again, Katarina Nash first, Eva Lechner second, Sophie de Boer in third. Behind them, Alicia Zuffi of Italy, Christine Majeras in 5th place. 6th is Ellen Van Looy. Amanda Miller 7th. Nikki Bramier 8th. Lucinda Brandt 9th. Maud Captains in 10th place.
That's a really good ride by Maud as well this year. She's just come out of the under-23 category into the elite.
And considering she crashed right at the beginning.
Yeah, and to not panic when you crash and really early on, you know, the adrenaline kicks in and you're like, I've got to get back quick. But of course, like this, it's really hard.
Yeah. High fives between those two riders. Discussions about what? Oh, she's
leg warmers.
She's got no leg warmers.
Yeah. Sophie said, aren't you cold? Katerina said, yeah, I forgot them. She's from the Czech Republic. They're used to the cold.
Yeah, exactly.
Although she does live in California, so...
Yeah, I can imagine... well, maybe it just carries on. You just don't feel it. When we had the World Championships in the Czech Republic, yeah, it was freezing.
Yeah, really cold. Really cold there.
Very, very cold.
She actually just got given the keys to the town where she lives.
Oh, really?
This week. Because
That's lovely.
Yeah, she had a really good ride in the Olympics as well this year, and you know she's an incredible athlete. They all are.
Sophie de Boer then. 3rd place, but will lead the World Cup. Great performance by her today. Eva Lechner then, 2nd place today. You wonder who's going to challenge Sophie de Boer now for the World Cup overall.
I think it would be hard for anyone, really. I mean, I think for the win you get 60 points, so she's very much probably got an actual win clear at the minute, which is tough for anyone to come back from that. But you can always have problems. I broke my collarbone 6 weeks ago, so...
True.
But you wouldn't wish that on anyone, so...
No, exactly, but... She's done a consistent, very good season so far. Katerina Nash looking flamboyant on the podium today. Congratulations to her. Stunning performance.
Auprès de l'un de nos sponsors principaux, Soudal remet également à Sophie.
Katerina Nash takes the win ahead of Eva Lechner and Sophie de Boer.
Le podium gagnant de cette catégorie dames, une course qui a tenu toutes ses promesses. Et maintenant, mesdames, mesdemoiselles, messieurs, votre attention à l'écoute de l'hymne national de la
And the national
République
anthem now of the Czech Republic.
Bravo, magnifique, quel beau podium encore.
Katerina Nash then has come back to the World Cup and immediately takes the victory. Now we'll find out whether she stays around and does Zolder and the races afterwards to try and put herself in with a shout of winning the World Championships. Do you think that might be in her mind?
Definitely. I don't think Katerina is the kind of rider that would just ride to compete. I think she's the kind of rider that would... The socks. Oh, those socks are CX Fever, which are from a rider called Magali Rochette, who's a Canadian national champion.
Right.
And she also rides for Luna, and they've obviously worn them on her behalf.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Katarina's not the kind of rider that would just ride to compete. She would be there to win. So I think she must see an opportunity in the Luxembourg World Championships.
And the leader's jersey of the World Cup, the Telenet World Cup, now being presented again to Sophie de Boer. 5 rounds down, and she has a firm advantage now on the rest of the field.
The next 3 races, she won Hoogerheide last year, so that race will definitely suit her. Rome is a new course, a new venue, so no one really knows how that will be, but most courses in Rome would suit Sophie. She's good at fast courses as well as the tougher ones. And then that just leaves Zolder, which, you know, even if you have a bad day, the amount of points she's got, yeah. I think Ellen Noble has also won the under-23s clearly by this point.
Yeah.
So
she's got a big advantage now, Ellen Noble. Pulling on the leader's jersey of the under-23s. Very good so far in this series. The American team really strong, and bearing in mind that Katarina lives in California, the majority of her time, American cyclocross looking great. Here's the standings. These are the standings before rather than the standings afterwards. So this is how we were at the beginning of today, with 258 to Sophie de Boer. So she'll have added 60 points. She'll be well over 300 now.
And if you look at the riders after Sana as well, Katie wasn't there, Caroline Manny wasn't there. So, yeah, I don't know the Sana would have known. Oh,
here we are. This is right on cue. This is how the standings look now. Sophie de Boer with 323 points. Sana Kant in second. That's a big gap now. And then the rest of the riders, Van Looy and Compton and Marnie, Katarina Nash up now into 6th place after today's performance.
It's really exciting to see 4 American women in the top 10 in the overall ranking, and you know they've made the effort to actually come to Europe as well as just the races they did at the beginning of the season.
Eva Lechner moves into 11th. She was 20th at the start of today's race, so that 2nd place finish has moved her significantly up the standings. She was the World Cup leader at this time last season. Well, thank you very much to all of you for joining us for today's coverage of this Telenet UCI Cyclo-cross World Cup. The women's elite race has been won by Katarina Nash. Just remains for me to say thank you to Helen Wyman for joining us, and thanks to all of you for listening and watching. And don't forget, we'll bring you the men's race shortly. Goodbye for now.
Avec évidemment un match très attendu. Le nombre de public l'a bien compris. Le succès populaire de ce 6e rendez-vous Coupe du Monde ici à Namur est sans précédent. Et d'ici 20 minutes, après l'appel des coureurs, nous ferons vivre les 60 minutes de cette compétition. Nous allons certainement vibrer au cours de cette épreuve réservée aux élites.